Hey everyone, I'm Clara and I'm about to share my stories straight up, no hiding. It all began with my mom passing away when I was born. My big brother Brandon was only 4 and our dad could not handle it. He turned to drinking and it took a toll on him. By the time I was 3, he was gone too. I don't remember any of it, just what Brandon told me. Thankfully, our grandma stepped in to raise us. Money was not a problem, thanks to what Dad left behind, but Grandma's love meant more to us. Brandon went off to college while I was in middle school, making us proud, while Grandma and I stuck together. She was my rock through all the tough times. When I finished high school, it felt like the right time to leave the nest, even though it hurt to leave Grandma behind. College was a blur of classes and new friends. Then, after college graduation, Grandma passed away. At this point, death was no stranger to us. Losing her was like losing a piece of myself, but Brandon and I leaned on each other for support. With Brandon off in another city focused on his career, I found myself alone in our childhood home. Graduating from college left me feeling adrift like so many other 20-somethings. Unsure of what to do next, I decided to put my degree in design to use and landed a job at a boutique. At 22, my life lacked the excitement that seemed to fill the stories of others my age. No wild parties, no serious relationships, just a routine of work and home. And I was content with that. But then, everything changed when I met Jared. On a rainy day, a blonde guy with ocean blue eyes stumbled into our boutique, soaked to the bone and desperately trying to dry himself off. "Hey, how can I help you?" "Well, for starters, I apologize for this wet mess on the ground. Can I please get a towel?" "Of course. I will see if I've got something in the back to help you dry off." "Thanks. Actually, I was here to pick up something for my sister Linda. It's her birthday today." "Do you think she's more of a patterns girl or something simple yet stunning?" "Definitely patterns. She loves to stand out." "In that case, we have some gorgeous floral prints that I think she'll adore." It took us nearly 30 minutes to find the perfect dress for Jared's sister. We browsed through racks of vibrant patterns and bold silhouettes, exchanging opinions and laughter along the way. As I rang up the purchase at the register, Jared leaned in, his voice low with a hint of nervousness. "Hey, Clara, I was wondering if maybe you'd like to grab a coffee with me sometime?" "Oh, sure, I would love to." "Great! Can I grab your number so we can figure out a time?" "Of course. Here you go." So that's how I met my almost husband, Jared. Going out for coffee with a complete stranger was probably the boldest thing I'd ever done at that point, if I'm being honest. But hey, Jared didn't turn out to be a serial killer, so that's a plus, right? After that first coffee, we started hanging out more. We got to know each other better and I found out we had a lot in common. Jared's life story was kind of like mine. He lost his mom when he was young, just like I did. His dad raised him and his sister, Linda, all by himself. Jared's dad was from Germany and his mom was American. They met and fell in love and Jared's dad moved from Germany to the States. Jared had a job in the corporate world and he was doing all right for himself. But what really got me about him was how kind-hearted he was. You could just tell from the way he acted and treated people. Our casual hangouts turned into something more serious. We'd spend weekends together, sometimes at my place, just enjoying each other's company. Things were going pretty smoothly between us, and then one weekend when my brother Brandon was visiting, Jared was also around. It felt like the right time, so I officially introduced Jared to Brandon as my boyfriend. "Hey, Jared, finally you get to meet the guy who's got my sister head over heels." Nice to finally put a face to the name, Brandon. How's life treating you? Pretty good, man. Running my own little business keeps me busy. Feels like nurturing a baby sometimes, you know. I'd love to dive deeper sometime. But it's reassuring to know you're here keeping my baby sister company. Oh, come on, Brandon. I'm not a baby anymore. I'm 23. All right. This house is really something. Thanks. Our dad built it, but we didn't stick around here much. Moved in with Grandma when we were kids. Clara filled you in, I bet. Yeah, she did. Sorry about your loss, man. Thanks. No worries. So, Clara said you're grinding it out down at the office on the 22nd? Yeah, just your typical desk job, nothing too thrilling. Hey, every job's got its value. Let's raise a glass to that, huh? Absolutely. Here's to hard work paying off. Cheers. So Jared and Brandon hit it off, and seeing them get along made me really happy. Eventually, I asked Jared to move in with me. I mean, he was practically living with me already, so it just made sense. He officially left his rented apartment and became my roommate. Let me tell you, Jared was the sweetest guy. He'd do all sorts of little things to make our home feel cozy and special. Like, he would surprise me with breakfast in bed on lazy Sunday mornings. He'd whip up my favorite pancakes with extra syrup, just the way I liked them. He'd also leave little love notes around the house for me to find. Sometimes I'd come home from work and discover a cute little message tucked into my bag or stuck to the fridge. It always brought a smile to my face and made me feel so loved. But it wasn't just the big gestures that made Jared special. It was the little things too, like the way he'd always hold my hand when we were out walking, or how he'd wrap me up in a warm hug when I was feeling down. He was always there for me through the good times and the bad, and I couldn't imagine my life without him. We had been together for 2 years. Time sure flies by. And then the day arrived when I finally got to meet Linda face to face. She had flown in from Germany to move and settle here for a while. We'd spoken on the phone before, but she didn't seem particularly warm during those calls. But hey, who could blame her? Phone conversations can be awkward. Anyway, she wanted to drop by to meet Jared, so I made sure to be prepared. Jared had assured me that Linda was much nicer in person and told me not to worry about it, so I tried to keep my nerves in check and greeted her with a friendly smile as she arrived. She started speaking something in German to Jared, and my face must have looked completely clueless. Jared glanced at me and said, "Linda, hey, Clara's also here. Remember, she doesn't speak any German." "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Clara. It's nice to finally meet you in person. I was just telling Jared how it took me a lot of time to locate your house. It's beautiful, though." "No problem at all, Linda. I'm sorry I couldn't understand you earlier." "It's okay. So, Jared, you and Clara, huh? I could say this is the longest relationship my brother has been in. You must really be someone special, huh?" "Well, what can I say?" "She really is." That night, with Linda and Jared chatting away in German, I felt totally out of place. It was like I didn't belong. And that's when I decided I had to learn German too, to fit in better with Jared's family. So I secretly started taking lessons online whenever I could, even though running the boutique kept me pretty busy. Meanwhile, Jared had a big surprise planned. He was going to propose. After being together for more than 2 years, he felt it was time. So he took me to the beach one day, where he had also invited Linda, Brandon, and a couple of other close friends. He even asked Brandon for his blessings and promised to take care of me forever. It was a really special moment that made me so happy. With the proposal accepted, we jumped right into planning our wedding. We decided to get married in just 5 months, even though some might think it's a bit soon. But we both wanted a winter wedding, so we went for it. Planning the wedding was both exciting and overwhelming. From picking the perfect venue to figuring out who to invite and all the little details in between. There was a lot to think about, but with Jared's help, I finally did it. German was proving to be a bit tricky. Sure, I dabbled in Spanish back in high school, but German felt like a whole different ball game. Still, I was starting to grasp it, even though I knew I had a long road ahead. I kept my German lessons a secret from everyone except Brandon. So, my little sis is finally getting married. Yep, she sure is. I wish Mom and Dad were here to see this day. They would have been so proud of you and the choices you've made. Yeah, I know they would have been, but I'm grateful you're still here, Brandon. I couldn't have done this without you. Hey, Clara, remember when I used to school you on the basketball court? Ah, yes. How could I forget? Well, look at us now. You're slam dunking in the game of love. Just a couple more weeks, huh? Oh, by the way, how's that German learning going? Actually, not too shabby. I haven't spilled the beans to Jared yet. I'm planning to wow him with a German speech at the wedding. Look at you, pulling out all the stops for love. You know me. Seriously though, Jared's a stand-up guy. We've had a few chats and I've got a good feeling about him taking care of you. Hey, why are you cozying up to my husband behind my back? Come on now, I'm hanging up. Goodbye. Flash forward to 2 days before the wedding. I was knee-deep in chaos, doing last-minute checks and making sure everything was in place. Jared was right there beside me, lending a helping hand. Suddenly, we heard the doorbell ring, and Jared said he'd get it and disappeared for a moment before returning with Linda in tow. Hey, Linda, I wasn't expecting to see you here. I'm here for Jared. Jared? Why? Honey, it's 2 days before the wedding. Our dad is flying in tonight, and you know the groom can't be with the bride the night before the wedding, right? Oh, right. I almost forgot about that. Jared, go pack your bag while me and Clara have some coffee here. Sure thing. I'll get right on it. Jared ran upstairs while I prepared some coffee for me and Linda. So, Clara, I just wanted to say I'm sorry if I've come off as cold or whatever, but truth be told, I'm really glad you're becoming a part of our family now. Oh, no, Linda, you aren't really cold. Come on, don't be too polite. I know I can be a bit intense sometimes. It's just that I'm really protective of my brother. Well, I completely understand. My brother Brandon can be like that too. Anyways, Dad is excited to see you both tie the knot too. I'm so glad he's able to make it. So there I was, alone in the house after Linda and Jared had left. It was only the afternoon, but I decided to take a nap. As I headed to the couch with the intention of dozing off while watching my comfort show, I noticed that Linda had left her glasses behind. I thought of dropping her a text, but then I remembered I needed to go to the area where her apartment was to check in with the florist, so I decided to drop off the glasses myself. After a 2-hour nap, I threw on some joggers, grabbed my car keys, and headed straight to the florist. After checking on the gorgeous flower decorations and admiring the magic that the florist was creating, I made my way to Linda's apartment. I rang the doorbell, but it wasn't working for some reason, probably broken, so I tried opening the door and it swung open easily. However, to my surprise, Linda and Jared were nowhere to be found. Instead, I heard voices speaking in German coming from the balcony. At this point, I had become pretty good at understanding German, so I listened to the conversation. Their accents were strong, but I managed to catch huge chunks of what they were saying. I'll write down the translated version that I can understand from their conversation. Finally, we've got her right where we want her. The fish is in the net. Calling her a fish, damn, that's harsh, Linda. As if using her while her brother is dying is not right. Well, it's not certain if her brother is really dying, and let's face it, even if he is, Do you think all that inheritance is too much for a simple girl like Clara? She's got her dad's house, her grandma's house, and her brother's business. She's not capable of running a business with half a brain. That's where I come in. You know, I always wondered why you liked her. She's just a sad, depressed orphan with a boring life. But now I see your vision. I could do great things with all that money. And you know, divorce is always an option. I had doubts about the situation, but when her brother called me to share his kidney issues, I became more convinced than ever. You're quite the cunning one, aren't you? Listen, Linda, all this money could be a game changer for us in the long run. Our dead-end corporate jobs won't get us anywhere, but this inheritance could be our ticket to something big. I promise I'll have your back if things work out the way I'm hoping. Well, I'm not complaining anymore. Linda made a sudden turn and entered the room, her expression shifting to one of surprise as she laid eyes on me. Oh, my goodness, what are you doing here, Clara? We didn't expect to see you. Jared, come inside. Clara's here to see you. Jared walked in and shared a stare with Linda and then started with his play pretend. Clara, how long have you been here? I just got here, but I really need to go. I just came to drop off your glasses, Linda. I handed Linda her glasses, but she could feel my hands shiver. She gave me a stare. Hey, why do you look so pale? Is everything okay? You seem like you're about to cry. Well, the florist messed up one of the arrangements, and I think I should go back and make sure it's being fixed properly. Oh, do you want me to come with you? Oh, no. Your dad's coming tonight. You should stay home and help your sister, Linda, with dinner or something. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Bye, babe. Drive safe. Leaving Linda's apartment building, my eyes were blurred with tears. I didn't even try to hide them as I walked past the curious glances of strangers on the street. All I could think about was what I had just heard inside. The words echoed in my mind. How could Jared, the man I loved, speak about me in such callous terms? And my brother's health, what about it? It was too much to bear. As I reached my car, the tears continued to flow freely. Sitting in the driver's seat, I buried my face in my hands, unable to contain the tears. Despite the overwhelming urge to confront Jared and Linda right then and there, I knew there was one thing I needed to do first: see Brandon. I was worried about him, so I drove back home hoping to find him there. Brandon was supposed to stay with me for the wedding, and I waited anxiously for him. After what felt like ages, Brandon finally arrived. When he saw me on the couch crying and with swollen eyes, he rushed over, clearly concerned. Hey there, Clara, what's up? You seem upset. Did something happen? Or is it just a cold feet before your big day? Brandon, enough with all the jokes. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be straight with me. Are you sick? Oh, Clara, don't worry about me. Your wedding is just around the corner, and you should be focusing on that. Brandon, please, I need to know if you're okay. Well, yeah, I've been dealing with some health issues lately. What kind of health issues, Brandon? It's my kidney. The doctors say it's in bad shape. Oh, no, Brandon. Is there anything they can do to fix it? Brandon stared at me. Don't be so vague. Say something. They're saying I might need a kidney transplant in the future, but don't worry, they're working on it. But the chances of finding a donor aren't great, right? This is serious, Brandon. I know, Clara. It's a tough situation, but I believe things will work out somehow. Why didn't you tell me about this before, Brandon? I'm your sister, I should know. And I'm testing to see if we are a match. I want to help you. No, I can't do that to you. This is why I kept this away from you. I didn't want to worry you, especially with your wedding coming up. And besides, I was hoping things would get better. Who told you about this anyway? Was it Jared? But you should have told me. We're supposed to be there for each other through everything. I've heard it from Jared's mouth. He was talking to his sister. I wanted to talk to Jared about it to make sure he would take care of you if anything happened to me, so I did. He promised to keep it away from you, though. I'm sorry you found out like that, Clara. I should have been the one to tell you. Can we please pretend we never had this conversation and we will deal with it after your wedding? Sure. I'll put it on hold till then. How about we order some takeout? I have some other things to take care of. Sure. Chinese? Yeah, that sounds good. And then you better rest up and get some sleep. Come on now. Tell me. Are you excited? I'm sure it's going to be one-of-a-kind wedding. After Brandon and I finished dinner, he went off to sleep. It had been an incredibly tough day for me with so much to process. I made a conscious decision not to tell Brandon about Jared and Linda's deceitful scheme. I didn't want to burden him with worry and panic. Instead, I resolved to handle the situation myself and teach Jared a lesson he wouldn't forget. Reflecting on everything, I realized that Jared had been using me all along. He enjoyed the perks of free housing and meals without contributing his fair share. Sure, he'd occasionally give me small gifts, but it hardly balanced the scales. I had become his safety net, ensuring his life ran smoothly without any financial pressures. And to think all this time Linda and Jared had been gossiping about me behind my back. It was a bitter realization to grasp, especially considering the love I had for him. Hearing Jared talk about my brother's health like it was no big deal made me furious. How could he be so heartless? I knew then that I couldn't let him get away with it. I'd keep my cool until the wedding, then expose him for who he really was. My plan was simple. I'd show everyone his true colors and let them see what kind of person he really was. I wanted him to face the consequences of his actions, to see his plan fall apart right in front of him. He needed to learn that his actions have consequences, and I was going to make sure he did. The big day had finally arrived. Can you picture it? Wearing a gown, putting on a fake smile, pretending everything's fine when deep down, you know you're about to walk down the aisle just to break up with your fiancé in front of everyone. It was tough trying to keep a calm head, playing pretend in front of all the people, my bridesmaids buzzing with excitement, and was getting harder by the minute. I hadn't spoken to Jared all morning anyway, after finally getting myself together and slipping into my wedding gown and having my hair and makeup done by my friends. I was all set. One of my bridesmaids brought out a bottle of champagne to celebrate, but I wasn't in the mood. There was still time before the bride and groom's first look, or should I say the last one. But yeah, the thing was, Brandon was going to walk me down the aisle, and I thought it would be best to fill him in on my plan now. So I asked my bridesmaids to send Brandon in and give us some space. Hey, what's going on? You look a bit tense. Need someone to talk to? Brandon, I got something heavy on my mind. I need to tell you. What's really going on? Are you nervous about your big speech? Want to practice with me once? Brandon, there's something else I've been wanting to tell you, something more serious. The thing is, Jared isn't who he seems to be. The other day when I overheard him talking to his sister, I heard some things. What do you mean? Well, it wasn't a casual chat. They were scheming, Brandon. Jared's in it for the money, and he's eyeing your business too. What? Are you sure about this? Absolutely. I wish I wasn't. That snake. I should have seen it sooner. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to worry you, Brandon, but now that I know, I can't keep quiet. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. How could he do this to you? To us? I don't want to let him off the hook easily. You know what? I'm going out there and telling everyone his real intentions. His boss, his colleagues, his family, his friends. Everyone's out there. His life will be ruined. Are you sure about this, Clara? It's going to be messy. I've never been more sure of anything, Brandon. He needs to face the consequences of his actions. So Jared and I had our first look. I didn't look too excited, and I could see Brandon trying hard not to punch Jared right then and there. But it was time for the final showdown. The music started playing, and Brandon led me to the aisle. Jared, with his fake tears, stood there. I stood next to him, looking at the audience, everyone smiling warmly, before the priest could start. I whispered in his ear to leave politely. Then I took a deep breath and began speaking. So, hi everybody. I want to thank you all for being here. I know you must be wondering what I'm up to, so I'll let the cat out of the bag. Jared came into my life like a breeze and soon made himself at home. I didn't mind it. Things went fast for us and I thought we would be the end game. But there's always a but, isn't it? And in this story, there is too. Babe, what's going on? Well, I had been learning German secretly. Jared's from Germany and I wanted to surprise him with a speech in German today. But guess what? Learning German helped me understand something I wasn't supposed to. Jared and his sister Linda have been talking behind my back. What's she saying? I heard everything, Jared. You've been calling me a dumb orphan, saying I don't see how you're using me for money, and not just that. You've been eyeing my family's inheritance that my dead parents and grandma left for me, and even my brother's business. Can you just shut up? Don't you see people from work are here, my family and friends are here? And that's why I needed to bring out your true colors, so all of them can see you for who you really are. Hey everyone, I hate to ruin the vibes, but came to speak up about Jared and tell you the truth. So yeah, the party's over. I needed a moment to gather my thoughts, so I quietly slipped away from the commotion. Jared and Linda's stunned expressions and their father's disappointed look burned into my mind. Brandon stepped up, helping everyone to disperse and calm down. After shedding tears alone in my bridal suite for what felt like an eternity, a gentle knock interrupted my solitude. I hesitated before opening the door, expecting Brandon, but to my surprise, it was Jared. Do you realize what you've done? My dad's furious and Linda is beyond angry. And whose fault is that? I just told the truth. You could have talked to me privately first before accusing me of such things in front of our guests. Now I don't even know if I'll have a job. My boss was already mad at me and this might be the last straw. Where will I go? I don't even have my own place. That is the whole point, Jared. I cannot believe I didn't catch up with your real intentions for so long. Well, congratulations, Clara. You've ruined everything. I hope you and your stupid brothers suffer all your lives. Get out, Jared. I don't want to see your face anymore. My memory of the wedding day is all mixed up, to be honest. After having another bottle of wine and waiting around for Brandon to see off the guests and clean up my mess, he finally drove me home. The first week after the wedding was a blur of tears and support from friends and family. But it wasn't just my love life in turmoil. Brandon's health was also at risk. After gathering some strength, Brandon suggested I take time off work to be with him. So I agreed and accompanied him home. There we met with his doctors to explore the possibility of me being a kidney donor for him. Unfortunately, it wasn't a match. Despite the heartbreak, I knew I had to be strong, especially for Brandon. He had always been there for me, and now it was my turn to support him through this difficult time. It wasn't easy, but I did my best to keep my composure and face the challenges ahead. And now, here we are today, 3 years later. You might be wondering how things worked out for me and Brandon. Well, let me start with Brandon. Over the course of 3 years, there were many ups and downs. His health deteriorated, and there were times when I had to drop everything in my life to go and be there for him. But it was all worth it after I received a call from him this morning. Hey, Brandon, is everything all right? Are you feeling okay? Clara, I'm ecstatic. You won't believe what just happened. I got a call from my doctors and there's a donor. They've scheduled me for surgery next week. Wow! After 3 years? You've been so strong through it all. I'll be right there with you next week. This news makes me the happiest person alive." I'm really relieved that my brother is finally going to be okay. As for me, I decided to really buckle down and focus on my career. I moved up from my job at the boutique to styling clothes for TV commercials and media, and things have been going pretty smoothly. In terms of my love life, I've started seeing someone new. It's only been a few months, but I've got a good feeling about this one. Now, as for Jared, well, he's kind of vanished from my life. Last time I heard from him was about 2 years ago when he was going through a rough patch. He would call me up drunk, blaming me for his problems, but I've moved on from all of that. I'm in a much better place now, mentally and emotionally. I'd like to share a piece of advice with anyone who's reading this. Always try to keep positive intentions in your heart. What goes around comes around, whether it's good or bad.